Prime back here. Sorry it's been so long. It's been a pretty hectic few months for me. Just having house remodeling and the baby and work and the holidays. So I'm back now with War for Cybertron Siege Shockwave, or just known as Siege Shockwave. It's a leader class figure. He's kind of small for being a leader class figure, but he has a ton of detailing. He's a fantastic color purple and pretty much is the best Shockwave we've gotten so far in this size or classics chunk sort of generations series of figures we've had. He's very, very good figure if you're willing to put up the $50 for a leader class figure that's just like a small Voyager. And I'll get into that in just a moment. I do think if you could find him, you should pick him up if you don't already have a Shockwave. I myself was waiting for a Shockwave in a suitable Shockwave. I didn't like the Fall of Cybertron one. I didn't care for the Cyberverse one. The Walgreens one was pretty cool, but the lack of knees, I couldn't buy it because it wasn't what I liked in Transformer. I like articulation. I like to be able to pose my figures, and you just couldn't with that one, even though it looked fantastic. This one definitely looks the part. So without any further ado, let's get to the review. So here is War for Cybertron Siege Shockwave. As you can see, he's a pretty neat looking figure. I don't know if you can see all the detail on him. He's got a ton of detail. He's got the clear piece on the chest with, let's see if you can get in close on this, with some detailing under it. It's an excellent, every little panel on this guy, anything that's flat is detailed. It is really, 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 really sculpted really nicely. It's got a very, very nice sculpt on it. Just every part. It's got a really, really nice shade of purple. The lavender for his gun and his hand, his fist. His light piping is exceptional for having such a tiny little port on there for the light to enter. It's really good. Really, really nice. He's got a rubber hose, which is also detailed to the nines. I think that's part of why he costs so much. Let's talk about that for a second. It's a big, big part of what everyone's talking about this figure. He is rather small. To compare him, here is the Siege Megatron. As you can see, he's actually a hair shorter than the Megatron. I think to justify the leader price point, he comes with this. I think that's Hasbro's way of saying, well, we'll just put a bunch of gunk in him, these Shockwave people will buy it. And I think they're right. I bought it. It's a really cool figure. This is sort of weird. This is one of the things that transforms into. It's just a bunch of parts together. He's supposed to stand on it. And you could kind of peg his foot in if it stays together. Got to peg his foot in there, and he could stand on it. So yeah, now he's tall as a leader. All these pieces come apart to attach to him. So he's got two of these pieces here, and so they just peg into these holes. So this looks kind of like a Shockwave leg and an arm. What this will do is this will tab onto. There's a whole peg hole there, and there's a peg inside there, if you can see it in the light. And that will just snap in like that, like so. And then on the other side, the other one does the same. And this is actually how he comes packaged. He comes packaged with these all attached to him. I do like that you can have them either way. I think that's good. There's options there. So, I mean, he does have some playability. These do peg on other figures because they all have the same sort of ports. These are his platform shoes. They peg into the bottom via the peg hole there. They actually lock into place rather well. And then this piece becomes a backpack. This is the one piece I don't really care for. So this pegs on via these pegs here into peg here, and on the other side there's a little hole there. And they go on like so. Make sure it's focused. Go on like so. And these bits just sort of hang. So it bulks them up a bit. Oh, let's get that in all the way. So it does bulk them up a bit, give them a little bit of height. Still not quite the leader class. See, there he is, next to Megatron. Now he's about the same height as Megatron. But that's how he comes to the package. I think it's the plastic. The plastic quality on this is pretty good. He does have some weight to him, which is really nice. It's good quality plastic. He's got this, the Siege, the sort of the typical of the line is like battle damage, darker paint. Luckily, it's only a little bit on the feet on the actual inner robot. So there's not too much on him like some of the other figures. It's quite minimal on Shockwave. So Shockwave also transforms into a spaceship. Kind of two different versions of a spaceship. One is more of like his gun mode was in G1. And to do that, you have to take off all these parts first. He is kind of a bit of a parts former in that regard. And he does share some design with his masterpiece counterpart, being in this piece back here on an arm. So I will be right back with the ship. This is the one thing that's kind of strange about this, is that you have to disconnect this. Instead of it going someplace, staying in the arm, you have to disconnect this. One thing I'm not super fond of. I wish they could have kept it, like, or at least had another peg hole here. It won't really reach this one at the top. So what you're supposed to do is put it down on the handle. So this is the base ship mode in a nutshell. It's obviously the gun mode. He does have these little pieces that you just can't do anything with his feet. His feet do not rotate or do not go up and down. They only have angle tilts. So this is the basic gun mode. And it's okay. It's okay. At least they tried. They're trying to get away with it. I'll give them points for that. Okay, here he is in his full battleship mode. With all the pieces combined on him, all the extra pieces. And he does get pretty big. He's got some good length to him here. As you can see, he is very much Shockwave. It still kind of looks like a gun, the Shockwave gun with more attachments. And I really like that front end piece. That's really menacing, cool looking. It's pretty long. It does turn into a pretty long. Maybe that's where the leader class comes in. But I mean, if you look at that, it is pretty big there. And it's got some weight to it. It's got some light piping at the top there. See if I can get it in the light so you can see it right there. Like he's got an eye. It's like looking out as he's flying. A lot of people think this looks like the Galvatron ship from the Transformers the movie that was created by Unicron. I see it. It's long and purple, so I can understand, but I think it's a kind of a stretch to call it that. Now, Shockwave is a good figure. He is a nice robot. Has a lot of good detailing, a lot of good qualities. He's fairly posable. He's not too difficult to transform. He does have some Combiner Warsy sort of pieces on him. Like these, the engineering on the legs definitely come from Combiner Wars, but he doesn't have any holes. He's not hollow, really, any place except for right there. He's got, like I say, he's got some pretty good articulation, which I'll go over in just a second. Let's get him back into his standard robot mode. I'll come back there. So his articulation is as follows. His head could tilt left and right, so he could look, hey, I didn't see that before. Where does that always been? Why am I only seeing it now? He could look slightly up and down. He could look right and left. His elbows, partly because of transformation, he could go up real high. He could make the YMCA Y pose. He has bicep swivel, 90 degrees at the elbows. He goes all the way around at the shoulders. He has wrist swivel on actually both sides. He's got waist articulation. Nice ratcheting on his legs. Very, very nice ratcheting on his hips and his knees, which are both 90 degrees. I wish that he had some back and forth on the feet, though. It is limiting in posability for that. He does have angle tilts, which doesn't quite make up for it, but he could get some pretty good poses out of this guy. And he stands up really well. You can get some pretty decent posing out of him. And for comparison, a little bit more comparison, here he is next to the masterpiece, the original masterpiece, Laser Wave. So for my final thoughts on this figure. Should you buy Seed Shockwave? Yes, if you don't already have a suitable Shockwave in your collection. It's a high price point for a small figure, and all the extra parts are really just to justify the price for the $50 price point. It's not a leader class, it is a Voyager class, but what it does well. It has some fantastic detailing, decent articulation, and it's a pretty damn good mold. I definitely recommend it. It looks great on the shelf, looks great, fits in the classes very, very well. So it is recommended by Ghost Prime. Anyway, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you'd like to receive notifications. It's not going to be that long before my next video. My next video is probably either going to be Megatron or Prime from the Siege series. So until then, see you later.